Fantanka, an organization that raises awareness on sexual and reproductive health issues in the Gambia. We are doing these videos to inform the general public about sexual and reproductive health matters in the Gambia. So we are helping people to understand SRH generally, because SRH normally is attributed or understood as sexual conversations, and talking about sex in the Gambia is seen as a taboo and a no-go area. People don't talk about it or refrain from talking about it. Because of that, people are not well informed to take ownership of their reproductive system or their sexual health, and that could lead to outcomes that are not desired. We interviewed a number of people to understand their perspectives on sexual and reproductive health.
To me, sexual and reproductive health entails a lot. When I think of sexual and reproductive health, I'm thinking it's not just what people would generally assume, that it's only something that has to do with sex and giving birth. I think it's more of you preparing your body mentally, physically, educating yourself, preparing yourself, making sure you are in a fantastic position for when you are ready to be in a situation where you are either going to be intimate, either for pleasure or for the purpose of reproduction, like giving birth and, having children.
Having sex and staying safe and protecting yourself at all times.
Well, sexual and reproductive health has to do with one's right to have informed decision as to who and when and how to have your sex with your partner.
To me, sexual and reproductive health means understanding the rights to your body, being aware of the physical, mental, and social well-being when in regards to all the reproductive system. I think it's also vital for young people like ourselves, and especially girls, to have understanding and knowledge of their sexual and reproductive health rights. I think the internet is a good platform. If you have the necessary websites or the necessary social media accounts, you can learn a lot. I don't personally go and ask people in my house because, like I said, there's that barrier when it comes to talking about these issues, and you kind of feel shy talking to other people about it, because even say when young girls get their period at home, for them to get the necessary information like, oh, this is what you should do, this is not what you should not do, it's still hard. But if you go to the internet, you're at your own private place where you can search whatever you want, learn about whatever you want, and there's like that comfort knowing that you're getting the right information without being looked at in a way that makes you feel bad about yourself.
Okay. Personally, my first source is the internet. Okay. That's where I run to. If I have a question about my body, anything that I have a question about, the first thing I do is go online. Perhaps put in symptoms or ask questions about what it is that I'm feeling, or what I think would be solutions to what I'm feeling. And then the second step would be to go see a gynecologist. Dr. Azadi has been very helpful so far. And yeah, those are the two sources that I know of. The internet and of course, the clinics, the gynecologist.
Well, here in Gambia, if you don't go look for it, I don't see it just readily available anywhere. But I'm always online, so if I see something, maybe it was online, but I can't remember like saying like, okay, this is a sex thing.
If I think there's something wrong with me, or like say for example my cycle is not going right, I think the only platform that I use is the internet to go and search or read about things, because like I said, there's no way you can go and be like, I think there's something wrong with me and for someone to listen to you. So yeah.
So based on the interview, it seems that many people rely on the internet for information. People from the rural area may not have access to the internet, and that will reduce their chances of getting information from the internet.
That's a problem that's been going on, but For now, I think it's getting better with the access to the internet, because I've been here a long time now, and from when I started, because I had an internet cafe, from when I started to now, internet is a lot more accessible than 10 years ago. So with that, I think it's getting a little bit better. Everybody's online, but then again, it's up to, I would say, private people, the NGOs or government to sensitize the youth with, again, billboards, TV shows on the local channels, WhatsApp messages nowadays, things like that. That's the only other options that I can see.
The other problem with getting information from the internet could be that they may not be told the right information, because the internet is filled with different positive and negative information.
Right, so what I do is I don't just go to one source. There's different platforms on the internet where you can find information of that sort. There's Web Doctor. There are actually verified sources that you can go to. You go to one, check, go to another, check, go to a third, check, and then call a medical doctor on the ground or somebody, a gynecologist, that would give you advice based on what you think. So you can say, okay, I went to the internet and I read about this and this and this. What's your opinion? So now you've had 3 different sources from the internet. Sometimes they could be terrifying, because you would have even a headache and you go on the internet, I have a headache, and they tell you, oh, you have cancer. It can be terrifying, to be honest. But the best thing to do is verify with someone who is on ground, someone who you trust, someone who you know has probably more knowledge than you. A gynecologist, a friend, a mother, it depends, whoever it is.
Right.
I mean, in the day and age that we're in right now, the internet is it, if you don't have any other sources, and it's up to you to research and see, okay, this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, because there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of good information. So it's up to you to really filter it out based on your own knowledge. Shout out Clinic, Mbowe Clinic.
The clinics, the hospitals. The thing is, though, the public hospitals, of course, there's a lot of pressure on public hospitals in terms of sexual and reproductive health, because we really don't have a lot of gynecologists in the country at all. So you are stuck with self-educating, or you have to go to clinics, and the private clinics with gynecologists is very expensive. In a place like the Gambia, if you want to spend, like, say, for example, you want to go for consultation only, and you pay like $600, that's a lot for the average Gambian. So I think that in itself is a bit of a hindrance. That's one of the reasons why sexual and reproductive health is not something that is very out there, aside from the fact that it's generally a taboo.
Based on the information that we gather, there is hardly any center that is particularly for young people to come and seek services.
The kind of information you need is, how do you protect yourself from any kind of other dangers? What is your body about? How to know the functions of your body? And if you're in danger, where do you go? But in the Gambia, we don't have the privilege of having access to all these information provided to us. We can't go to a center and be like, I have this problem, what is going on? So I think a lot of things need to be done to help, especially young people like us, especially girls when we're in danger of, say, thinking we're pregnant or we want to get tested or something like that, to have an environment or a facility where we can go and not feel ashamed to ask questions that are necessary to understand our rights.
So where would somebody be informed if the relevant people, such as parents, health professionals, or the classrooms are not giving young people the right information? Where would they be taught?
In America, pretty much they have sex classes even in high school, where it's like, okay, this is what happens, this is what's going to happen if we do this and that. So taking from that and being sexually active at a young age, it's like, okay, I don't want to have AIDS, I don't want to have this, I don't want to have that, I don't want to die, so let me just go get tested.
Primarily, I'm a woman. All right, it's very important that we take care of our bodies. The organs that we harbor here are very important, and this is what ensures the next generation is available or not. You know what I mean? So it's important that we go to gynecologists because you cannot see what's inside. You can feel maybe if you have a pain, like a sharp pain or something, and you say, oh, you know what, let me go to a gynecologist and seek advice. But the only way to know what's inside or what's going on is if you go to a gynecologist and they will do a scan and tell you from their medical point of view what it is that you need to do. That way you can help yourself and potentially your partner or whoever else is going to be involved in that circle of yours.
I mean, the thing is, you can't be shy about it though. That's I don't know how else to explain it. Maybe because I'm just brought up that way, but I mean, it's your health. Like, you're gonna be, how do you say it? Masla sutra sutra, and then you're dead. Nah, I'm good. I can't do that. I'm sorry. I believe in my religion. I believe in God and all of these things. But if you know you're doing something, it's better to protect yourself. Go seek medical attention when you have to. So it's like, protect yourself. Seek medical attention if you're feeling something is off. Like I said, if you're sexually active, always go to the doctor every 6 months or so.
It'll be absolutely unfair in a country like Gambia to just put everything online because 3/4 of the country doesn't have access to internet, and that's a fact. So the other option would be going to them. Since they can't come to you, you have to go to them. Okay. They have to make that available. They owe it to us.
Yeah, I mean, just that. Here, I haven't seen where they have like seminars or like when I was in college, there's always some kind of something that's happening where they're telling you about sex, about donating blood, about this, that. I mean, here I see the donating blood thing, but I really haven't seen anything about sexual activity and prevention or condom drives or things like that. I don't think I've ever seen that here in Gambia. And those are the things that you need for the young people. It's not that you're telling people, go have sex. They're doing it anyway. You know? So it's better to just be like, okay, look, if you're going to do it this way.
So these are services that need to be improved in the Gambia. We need to find spaces for people to just come and seek information. It's really important for people to come to be able to talk to their parents or health professionals about simple matters. About what's going on in your system. I have started my period. Enlightening people around menstruations, around sex when they reach the age. Other issues that people have highlighted is that organizations or the governments should make more effort to sensitize people, to go to the communities and talk about sexual and reproductive health matters. Gone should be the days where sex topic is a taboo or should be a taboo. People should understand that it's part of our lives. We need to be educated. We need to understand what we are doing.
Like I said, I think we need to utilize our social medias. And in the Gambia here, the most popular one is WhatsApp. So if there's a way of trying to promote these kind of things on WhatsApp, because you get those chain emails like, if you send this to 100 people, this will happen to you. So trying to use that in a way that people would see the information, they would read about it. That would really help. And having dialogues like this, having maybe Zoom calls or going live on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just talking about it, because you never know who is going to watch it or who's going to see it or who's going to share it for somebody else to see it. That is the step that we can take to make sure that we get this conversation going, to make sure that we create services and platforms and environments where we can talk about these things, where people can get access to it, where the things that they need will be available for them.
I think there should be centers where there are counselors, people who would be non-judgmental. It would be a safe space for women and children to come, because to be honest, sexual and reproductive health advice is more available to women who are married than people who are not married. Why? Because in our country it's deemed a taboo. We act as if young people are not having sex before marriage in this country. We do. We still do. And that in itself is a huge problem, because it's not the truth. And the longer we keep pretending like sex is not a part of our daily life, the bigger mistake we're making. So we should have centers where we have counselors to teach children, train them, young people, young adults, because they're growing to become mothers, they're growing to become fathers. So they need to know how this thing works out because it's a very essential part of their lives. Secondly, we should have more gynecologists and people who are readily available. Encourage young people to go and do tests, encourage them to talk about it. Just let's have a conversation about it. That's what the most important thing, if you ask me. Let's have a conversation about it.
Definitely, but then again, the culture, because sex is taboo. It's like you're not supposed to have sex when people are like 13, 14 having sex. Parents don't know. I mean, yeah, it's very important to have that here, especially here where they're saying that AIDS is like, prevalent. So, yeah.
Young people themselves are saying that, contrary to what parents are thinking, they are not all abstaining from sexual intercourse. So it's best for them to talk to them, and if they don't talk to them, they will go and explore. Without getting the relevant information, they may be under peer pressure.
The organizations that I work with, we try and make sure that we talk about things that are not in school. If you go to other international schools, they have a subject just dedicated to sexual education, where they talk about all these issues. But in the Gambia, like we've talked about, this is stigmatized, so there's no way they'll put it into the curriculum. But if no one is talking to them about this, they're not going to ask the questions that they need to ask to make sure that they understand what is going on with themselves, especially, and how they can avoid these instances. For example, just last month, a couple of months ago, we did this EFC Twitter, where we had you come and we talked to a group of students about their sexual reproductive health and sexual gender-based violence. And to them, it was an eye-opener because they've never heard of these things. They don't never know what the difference between these little details. So getting them on board and talking to them about this, even though it's a small group of people, you're making a bit of a difference, because they would go and talk to their friends about it. Oh, today when I did this, I learned about this and this and this. They will share that information. At first, because no one talks about it. Mm-hmm. So when we said those phrases, for example, like sex, gender, or reproductive, they were kind of like, they stepped back because they're not used to talking about these things. And when someone's not used to it, they will rather recline than go forward to ask more questions, because we're not a really inquisitive society where we don't ask questions that we don't necessarily want the answer to because we think it's not a good idea. But the more that they were learning about it, the more you see that we're coming forward to make sure that they understood, because they knew that maybe these things were happening in their lives, but they had no one to tell them that this is what you should do or this is what I should do. So they were, to me, I felt like they were pinpointing instances that were happening in their lives and what they were being taught. So to them, it made more sense because they were using the examples in their lives or in their friends' life or somebody around them to make and taking the knowledge that they had to say, oh, okay, this is what was going on when this was happening. Now I understand. Mm-hmm. So I think that was a really good way of doing that.
Absolutely. Its importance cannot be overemphasized because, one, I think your mother and your friend, those should be the first people you run to with any kind of problem. So if you have issues with something as intimate as sexual and reproductive health, those should be the first people you should be able to run to ask, okay, I'm feeling this, what do you think? And probably they've gone through it, or they've had they know someone who have, and they'll give you guidelines on how to deal with it. Or just generally being in the world longer than you, they should know some experience and they've gone through certain things that you haven't yet. So they should be able to educate you about it. I think that's why it's important to be able to go to your mother or your friends, just people who probably know a little bit more than you. They would educate you in a way or two.
Talk about it. I mean, that's the only way to tell. Like me, my child, you will know exactly what's going down from the moment you know what's happening, because that's the only way to prevent anything. Because if I don't know much about something and I'm curious, I'm gonna end up messing up something. You know what I mean? Because, example, she never, nothing. Like, she was, you know, A student, good girl, all that, and then first time she had sex, boom, pregnant.
If you don't educate your child and explain to them why you want them to not engage in sexual intercourse, for example, you should not just assume that your child will be a virgin if you tell them to avoid men.
Yeah, I don't think parents should do that because you do not know what is going on in your child's life when they're outside of the house. And because of the fact that you don't have that open dialogue with them, there's no way they're going to tell you, oh, mom, this is what happened to me, or father, this is what happened to me. Because in the instance where they come and say something like that to you, you start, why are you doing this? You're bringing shame to the family and things like that. And that is not how it should be going about.
To be honest with you, I've never had this conversation with my mom. Everything I know about sexual and reproductive health, I've had to self-teach, like I said, via the internet or just asking questions to doctors, really. It's not something that is very openly talked about in the country. So due to that, I don't remember one day sitting around and talking to my mom about this. This never. I remember when my period came here the first time, the first thing she said was, "Legi de mom janganga. Legi mom gori mom." You know, so even that was just a conversation. It was more like, okay, girl, you need to stay away from men because you've just seen your period. That's it. That's it. So it made it seem like, okay, this is a terrible thing. I have to be, you know, I have to be quiet about it. You know, it's some sort of a taboo, and that's totally wrong. I had to self-teach, and I'm actually happy that you guys are doing this project because it's going to educate a lot of people. And hopefully people seeing me talk about it would encourage them also to like just go out and talk about it because it's important.